tempo, quindi invito immediatamente Messie Didier Coulomb a intervenire. Il tempo che gli era stato destinato erano 10 minuti, ma abbiamo qualche margine in più. Quindi Didier, you have 15 minutes you have this time for your presentation. Thank you. Grazie.
Well, first, before speaking on refrigerants, I would like to give you some explanations why refrigerants are the main issue now. And the first reason is that we need refrigeration. We need refrigeration because refrigeration is everywhere. In cryogenics, for instance, in petrochemical refining, steel industry, space industry, nuclear fusion, in medicine, in health products, surgery, anesthesia, scanners, vaccines, air conditioning, not only building for business or for housing, but also for data centers, for instance, the food industry, the cold chain, the energy sector, heat pumps, LNG, hydrogen, environment, including carbon capture and storage, public works, leisure activities. And thus, we absolutely need to continue to expand the use of refrigeration, and especially in developing and emerging countries. As you know, we first have a problem of quality of food because of problems of temperature control. Even in developed countries like the US, you still have a lot of death due to pathogens, at least partly associated with temperature control. And of course, there are more problems in developing countries. And moreover, we will have an increase of the population, the global population, particularly in Africa and South Asia, where developing countries are. And these people will be mostly in urban areas. And the number of people in urban areas in these developing countries will double. And thus there will be a need for cold chains, increasingly westernized models. For instance, we are now working with India as such as emerging country, but you will still have a lot of losses of food because of the lack of refrigeration. And they really want to develop technical possibility to improve their cold chain. There are 1 billion people now undernourished, and 23% of food losses are caused by a lack of refrigeration versus 9% in developed countries. There are also needs for better health everywhere, including in developed countries, because of we need a good cold chain, air conditioning, especially for aging population. And thus there will be a strong increase in emerging and developing countries, especially, and thus there will be an increase of the impact on the environment. Once again, before speaking of refrigerants, you must take into account the fact that the main issue regarding environment, general view, is energy, more than refrigeration. Refrigeration, including refrigerants. Refrigeration, including air conditioning, represents 15% of global electricity consumption, and it will increase. For instance, in developed countries, it is more than 50%. And there are also, of course, because of that, a global warming issue, because when you produce electricity, generally speaking, you produce also CO2 emissions. And thus we have to work, and we work in the International Institute of Refrigeration regarding concepts like TB, LCCP, in order to take into account the global, the general impact of refrigeration and air conditioning on the environment, and not only the issue of refrigerants. But it is not only a problem for environment, it is also a problem of price, because the price of electricity will increase because new sources of energy have higher costs. It is in a lot of developing countries a lack of power infrastructures, and thus we have to reduce the energy consumption in these countries because of this lack of power infrastructures. We have to develop overall system solutions, and moreover, we have to take into account all the new regulations on energy, on buildings, for instance in Europe, in the US, because constraints on the energy consumption will imply constraints on refrigeration systems. And changing a system because of refrigerant issues might take into account potential reductions in energy consumption. However, why this focus on refrigerants? First, because vapor compression systems will remain predominant in the short and medium term, even if we have tried to develop new technologies, absorption technologies, magnetic technologies, and so on. And thus, we will need more and more refrigerants. There are two impacts on the environment because of refrigerants. The first one is the impact of the stratospheric ozone layer. We have the Montreal Protocol in order to phase out CFCs and now HCFCs. And we have all over the world now in developed countries, but also now the problem is in developing countries, phase out plans. And we also have to reduce the impact of the issue of plants. However, we have alternative refrigerants. We have HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, including HFOs, because HFOs is a family of HFCs. These HFCs have no impact on the ozone layer, and thus they are not included in the Montreal Protocol, but they have an impact on global warming. And thus they are included, for instance, in the Kyoto Protocol, in all the negotiations on global warming. We also have natural refrigerants like ammonia, CO2, hydrocarbons, water, air, which have a very low impact on global warming. And we also have a lot of other solutions with mixtures, combinations, cascades of fluids, secondary fluids. And thus we have alternative solutions. This table is important because, as you see, we have CFCs are, well, a bad refrigerant regarding both the ozone depleting potential and the global warming potential. HCFCs are much better, but HFCs compared to HCFCs are not so different, except the new HFCs, HFOs, and the other refrigerants that are now developed, which have a very low global warming potential. But the other ones have similar impacts on the environment than HCFCs. And of course, we also have various natural refrigerants. Well, there are a lot of various scenarios which were developed in the recent years regarding the future impact of HFCs and more generally fluorinated gases. You have here the curve. You see the impact of CFCs regarding CO2 emissions and thus global warming. Thus, having phased out CFCs has a very good impact on global warming. You have a very lower impact of CFCs on global warming, but because of the development of refrigerant and refrigeration and air conditioning, especially in developing countries, you will have an increase of the impact of fluorinated gases with the time frame 2050. 2050 is the general time frame for time schedule for all the discussions on global warming. We have various scenarios, but well, catastrophic scenarios, in my opinion, well, we now have the impact of fluorinated gases. I mean, CFCs, HCFCs, and HFCs are about now 1 to 2% of CO2 equivalent emissions. And in the most probable scenario, there will be about 7%. It is not negligible. And thus, there are discussions at an international level, both in the Montreal Protocol and in the Kyoto Protocol meetings, in the various United Nations conferences, on the future of HFCs. Because replacing HCFCs with HFCs could be a real threat to climate compared to the replacement of CFCs to HCFCs. There are two proposals which are discussed at an international level for 2 years, the North American and Mauritius Micronesia proposals to gradually phase down the consumption and production of HFCs in all countries. Phase down, it means that the idea is not to phase out currently, the idea is not to phase out, completely phase out HFCs, but to reduce HFCs consumption and emission and production. CO2, the calculation of CO2 weight. I mean, if we continue to have HFCs, for instance, with a very kind of HFCs with a very low global warming potential, it could perfectly be a solution regarding the current proposals, because the idea is to reduce to only 15% of the current global warming emission of HFCs. The problem is that even if most of the countries agree with such a proposal to gradually phase down HFCs and to use the tools of the Mostra Protocol to gradually phase down HFCs, you have a strong opposition of India, China, Brazil, and also some Arabic countries. However, there are other initiatives which are important, and especially in your country, in Europe and Italy. The European Air Gas Regulation and the Mobile Air Conditioning Directive, and in some European countries, taxes and bans on HFCs. Not only European, you now have Australia too. And this decision in Europe is linked to other decisions regarding global warming. Well, you must know the following issue. As you know, and we participate in these international discussions as an intergovernmental organization, we still don't have any agreement regarding the future of the Kyoto Protocol. However, there is an international agreement to continue negotiations until 2015. And in my opinion, as soon as we will have some results on these negotiations, we will have some results on the issue of HFCs, which are discussed in all these United Nations conferences. The consequences at the European level. First, the European Union would like to be the kind of example for the world regarding global warming. It is the only part of the world where you have compliance with the Kyoto Protocol. It is the attitude of the European Union in international negotiations to obtain new agreement on reducing global warming and to have strong measures regarding that. Regarding refrigerated gases, the first measure in the European level is reducing leakage because of the air gas regulation, and the idea is to know if we will do more than the current air gas regulation. The second measure is to phase out IGLWP refrigerants. For instance, we already have the MAC directive, Mobile Air Conditioning Directive, and the question is, if we will or not expand that kind of measure. And in some countries, we have taxes and bans, and the problem is to know if we will do it at the European level. Well, I will not describe all the review process at the European level, but now with the gas directive, gas regulation, we have a review process. We still don't have any decision, but we have already on the table various scenarios, trying to progressively strengthen the air gas regulation and to try to have decisions which are a kind of compromise between the various wills of the European countries. And a lot of countries would like to strengthen this regulation and perhaps to, for instance, implement high taxes in some sectors or to phase out HFCs in other sectors. Well, and very probably within 2 years we will have a new regulation. We already sent comments to the Commission, and we will continue, of course, as an intergovernmental organization to be active on that issue. I will not describe all the options put forward by the consultants, just to know that there are several options: banning of gases, taxation systems. My conclusion is the following one. Actions in HFCs are an easy way to rapidly reduce greenhouse gas emissions And it explains part of the pressure by US, UNEP, NGOs, some industries also which would like to have a worldwide market and not only markets only dedicated to a certain country because a certain country has a particular position. And thus an international agreement like the Mostra Protocol is of course good for them. You would know that probably that Hillary Clinton put forward that kind of issue, and thus it is a very political issue now to reduce, to phase down HFCs. The European Union would like to be a model and anticipate possible international decisions. Very probably, as soon as international decisions on global warming can be taken, probably about 2015, the phase-down schedule of HFCs will be decided. And until then, strengthening the F-gas regulation will be the minimum the European Union could impose. Thus, we have to implement it, and especially Italy. I know, and I'm very pleased that now Italy decided to implement it. In order to know what will the future be in terms of regulation, what kind of solutions exist, what are the constraints, the costs, and so on, regularly updated information is required. And of course, the International Institute of Refrigeration can help you. There's a portal, database, publications, reference documents, through its network of experts, participation in international decisions, and conferences, congresses, research projects. We are involved in urban research projects, and working parties on this issue. Thank you.